Hello, friend. So I thought I'd reach out and share how I'm experiencing my anatomy at the end of the release weekend for the Taylor Swift's latest album, The Life of a Showgirl. It's been like a pretty wild ride in ways that are interesting to kind of parse apart, especially considering what we talked about in our last episode of like, looking to have sort of an endpoint to the amount of time and energy I've been devoting to Taylor Swift recently in a project that felt fun and like a delightful use of my time, but that I was aware, could literally continue on forever because Taylor Swift is part of like the same entertainment music machine that wants your attention for everything, So, it was really interesting. I first listened to the album at like 3 a.m. on the Friday morning. Unfortunately, I had a plan to, wait till I woke up and use it as like my movement practice to like listen to the album. But then Leo woke me up in the middle of the night, which is rare for him. But by the time we got him back to sleep, I was like wide awake. I, tried going back to sleep like my usual tricks. And then my next usual trick is to like get up and go do something for a bit until I get tired and then go back to bed. And so this time I'm like, okay, I'm just going to listen to the album. And I will say, last album that came out for hers, a similar thing happened. And it was great. It was like me in the middle of the night, like reading the lyrics, kind of getting excited about the songs and being like, oh my gosh, a bunch of these are about Maddie Healy. And like that was actually a very delightful way to hear Torture Poets Department. I will say it was not delightful to listen to this album that way because I think it's just so much more purely upbeat and poppy. And I will say that this album contains a larger number of lyrics that are kind of a little, not like controversial wise, but like just a little corny, a lot of like, I don't know, youth slang, like calling things fire and savage and whatever. It doesn't really have that like emotional depth to it that I would prefer from her. And I knew that's what the album would be going in because it was supposed to be this big pop album. But I meant that I was kind of let down by many of the songs on first listen. I could tell there was like lots of catchy tunes, but I was really focused on the lyrics. And I was like, I'm not sure about these lyrics. And the really fascinating thing is, so then like I finished the album and I'm like, all right, well, I'm not having that kind of like euphoria, gleeful delight that I had with the last album. And honestly, I felt relief. Like there was some like disappointment, but also some relief of almost like, okay, so I don't have to, not that I would have to, but like I'm not feeling compelled to like get obsessed with this. And it's so fun to get obsessed with something, but also it's fun to not. And I was like, all right, I really am going to get just satisfied with this album. Isn't that so interesting? And since then I've listened to it a few different ways. Like I did then wake up the next morning and listen to it while like moving and dancing. And I enjoyed it way more then because it really is more an album that's best listened to without listening to the lyrics, which is weird to say for Taylor Swift. It's not that there's so many terrible lyrics, but there are some that are like, in my opinion, clunkaroonies. And so that was more delightful. Going and seeing the film version in the theaters with Francis and just having like a date night with him. That was really cool. Like just getting to like have a date night. It's actually been quite a while since we've had a date night, especially like it felt very high school or something. Like we went out for dinner and then we went to the mall and like walked around it a bunch of times because our movie theater's in our mall. And we had just finished dinner so quickly that we had a bunch of time before the movie started. And holding hands with my fella, walking around the mall. It felt very on brand for classic Taylor Swift and even current Taylor Swift. The album's full of just how in love with Travis she is. And so it felt quite appropriate to just like walk around a mall with my honey and go see the movie. And that made me like it even more, just seeing all the like behind the scenes and the artistry and creativity she put into, say, like the music video she directed. I was like, oh, there's Taylor with the artistry and the creativity, because the album itself, it has a certain kind of artistry of like getting that perfect catchy earworm pop hook. There's like so many of those on this album, but in a way that's actually like slightly annoying to me because especially when I'm like, oh, that's so catchy. And now I'm humming along and singing lyrics where I'm like, ugh, these lyrics are, they're just not for me. They're not that exciting. They're not that deep or inspirational, you know? One of the songs is like very much mostly about Travis's penis, bringing her pleasure, which that one actually is one of my favorites, to be honest, even though it's like, oh, Taylor, you are talking about a penis with euphemisms. It's called Wood. The song's called Wood, Jamie, and it's about Travis's penis. Yeah, the euphemisms are very not subtle, but the song itself is like an uber bop. It sounds like Jackson 5 or something. So I enjoy it for the dancing of it all. Anyway, but it was so interesting. So I was like, okay, so I want to kind of find a way to transition my body out of this space of being excited about this album. And now it's finally here. And I was noticing my body was kind of doing the like, it's dramatic to say withdrawals, but it was like, I'm used to being in a pattern of sort of being hyped and checking social media a bunch and checking these different things. And so I want to keep doing that. And I was still like on Saturday, like looking at my phone more than I wanted to and, you know, checking things. And Saturday night, I was like, I stayed up late and was on TikTok and I was like, help. And so then today's Sunday, I was like, okay, it's time to like take a further step away. So deleted all the apps, glorious. And this afternoon, went out with the boys out to this like really cute town that had all these like Halloween decorations already set up and also has this beautiful gorge. The name of the town's Elora, and it has this like beautiful river that's in a gorge that kind of runs through the town with all these like bridges over it. And we went down and like waded in the water and they tried to catch fishes. And it was like so like idyllic, beautiful. The boys were so funny. And I just felt like, and it felt good in less of that like intense dopamine way for sure. But it felt good in that like lived in beautiful, slow, but satisfying way of just like, yes, this has like all the ingredients that makes life good, you know? And I still feel my body being like, oh, but what's happening on Instagram? And it's just noticing like, that's one specific kind of delight and pleasure for sure. But it's such a like narrow color on the rainbow spectrum, you know, and it can just get so bright and intense, like, and by design for sure. Right. And so I think certainly I'm going to continue to keep like pacing out. Like I'm really kind of viewing it like a little detox or a little like tapering down of like how much time I'm spending watching things related to it. Or I do still really love watching like certain Swifties I follow, like their reactions to the album. I find those quite pleasant, but I'm pacing out like how often I watch them, watching them on like a TV screen versus just on my phone, you know, like trying to pace it out in a way of like having it be a smaller piece of my life. Maybe this seems like really like, wow, you're really thinking a lot about it. But honestly, I have been thinking a lot about it. And it's been great, but, and like, it's sort of that fun, ooh, I'm so obsessed with a thing. But then like you were saying, like when it's becoming almost compulsive and I'm like, oh, I'm not really having fun with this anymore. Now it feels like it's sort of like an unfulfilled craving loop. Then it's time to reset and integrate other kinds of delight and joy. And definitely today felt like a good sort of resettling of that. And the boys are so cute. I'm just going to send you a picture that I just think is one of it's my new lock screen. I'm like, look at these boys. I should say, like, the reason I'm saying I took them is Francis is away on work since yesterday. And so that's been in some ways like useful because then I can just sort of direct what's happening with the boys without, it's good to have a partner many, many times. But like, especially for a day like today, it's like, I'm just going to like take them where it's going to be good for all of us. And the thing that's hard is then, can stay up late watching TikTok because there's no one who's like trying to go to bed that I'd want to go to bed with him. Anyway, so then where was I going with that? That totally made me lose my train of thought. I don't know. Francis isn't here right now is what I'm saying. And so I was just taking the boys and I took a really cute picture of them that I'll share with you because like those little bunnies are the sweetest little sweeties. And even when they're being frustrating or strange or hilarious or whatever. And yeah, getting to be like more present with them and doing things that they enjoy, laughing with them. We like had like a blowing raspberries on each other contest like right before their like quiet time nap time, and it like the giggling was just so delicious. And yes, it feels less intense than some of the stuff that media or social media or like those really high concentrated hits can feel, but they just last so much longer, and they're like deeper in your soul and in the cells of your being, you know? So that's the update. So in terms of an album, so my review of Life of a Showgirl is it has plenty of bops, and including some songs that I also really like the messages and the writing of, and also a bunch that are bops, but I'm not so sure on the writing of. Either I'm just like can't relate, or find them like a little cheesy or corny. And that's okay. You know, that's another side of her and it makes it easier for me to then like detach a little bit and find other colors in the color spectrum, as it were. So yeah, I hope you've had a wonderful weekend as well. And love ya. Talk to you later.
Oh, Joan, what an incredible service you have just offered to the world in your description of, I mean, what would we even call it? Like your description of like the somatics of the state change that occurs when shifting or trying to shift from spending a ton of time oriented to devices and the internet, social media, being online, trying to shift from that for whatever reason, work or play, to being more present and presenced to your real life, your tangible see, hear, smell, taste, touch life in your body. Again, whether that's because you have to or you want to, or like the source of what you are consuming has dried up because something has, there's so many layers to what you just shared that I find interesting, and layers I find compelling. And also just, I was wondering, I've been wondering what your experience was of the album. I've been thinking of you. So there's a lot to what you shared, and I loved listening to that whole voice memo, and just, I kept being struck by the specific service it felt like you were offering, just articulating like, this is how it feels, and this is how that shows up for me when I have been really online, and I'm trying to re-access the capacity to experience those slow, simple, satisfying, real life, pleasurable moments and experiences that are super different from like the hit and the charge of the dopamine stimulating being on the internet thing. And God, do I know better than anyone how you can like really lose yourself to that. And I guess if there's a way to maybe describe like an element of the personal and professional work that I've done in the last few years is like expanding my own capacity and then helping others learn how to expand their capacity for that particular state change, that transition. I feel like these days a lot of my work focuses on the somatics of transition, like the experience of transition in the body, like from one state to another, one activity to another, from activity to rest, from rest to activity. Like it's really hard on bodies, as you well know. And I think the hardest kind is the like very online to like, I need to be very offline. And yeah, I dance that dance too. I'm always dancing that dance. So yeah, thank you for sharing your experience of the album. I have thoughts. I mean, I have thoughts as a person who like second to third hand observes other people's reflections, experiences, thoughts, assessments, blah, blah, blah. I haven't listened. I've never really listened to Taylor Swift. So I didn't listen to this one. I probably won't. Didn't listen to the last one. Probably won't. But I do find the cultural conversation around it, which it seems like the general response is like along a spectrum of like meh to like ew. And that is interesting to me. I don't want to get super in the weeds of this because it's just, I don't know. It's just not my thing. But I think I don't know if she's like in a perpetual state of arrested development, like legitimately, or if she is like a cunning, like living art piece of a person who is like orchestrating, like sloughing off a significant portion of her fandom on purpose so that she can like access some degree of normality, because like that's her only option. I don't know her well enough to know like how much or how little credit to give her, but like I could see that being a viable explanation for like why the fuck, like I've seen a lot of people be like the lyrics, like what's going on? So I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. If so, I respect it. I respect it a lot. And if she's just in a perpetual state of arrested development and genuinely believes like this is the kind of music that it's going to like work for people, for like a soon to be middle-aged married woman, bless her heart, is what I'll say. I don't know. I have no idea. But I find the larger conversation fascinating. My friend, Caroline, Caroline, our guest from season 2, Caroline Lee, put something on her Instagram the other day that said her theory is really that like Taylor Swift is a Rorschach test. And I'm like, I like that. So yeah, here I am barefoot pacing around my office once again. I have had a very busy and full week. It's like a really busy and full season, and it's been a little bit hard to catch up to myself, but it felt like a nice little brain break to listen to your Taylor Swift analysis. And then, like I said, your really poignant reflection of the somatics of state change, we'll say. And I think really the only other thing I want to share is like what happened right before I listened to your voice memo and then started sending you this one. I actually had a session with our dear friend Roxanne from our last episode. It was our first session since we recorded that episode with her, and she was like, I was just buzzing after, and I was like, me too. It was so good. She, among the many incredible things she shared with me during our session today, she shared with me, as she's starting to share with me more and more, like the ways in which her practice is transforming, like just the specifics of like how she's able to hold herself and like support people and really like listen deeply and be fully present with. And so, the potency of the potency of the kind of medicine that she's able to practice through her presence is just like, oh my gosh, exponentially greater than it was before, when her time was so compressed and her attention was so, straight and demanded in all these different directions. And so it was such a gift and an honor and a joy to hear that from her today. And what really landed with me, I had this enormous amount of gratitude well up for her and for you and for this project and for like the other physicians and practitioners and doctors that I've had the incredible honor of working with, who have like, this is consistent across the board, like applying these principles to one's personal life first and foremost, and then to one's professional career in this field of medicine. Like it changes everything, because I feel like what's going on there when we come back into alignment with our bodies, and like what I'm seeing as I'm helping facilitate these people occupying these roles of practitioner, coming back into alignment with the wisdom of their bodies, is like, I really feel like I'm helping doctors become who they're meant to be, like become the kind of doctor they always actually really wanted to be, but like the system couldn't get them there. Well, it couldn't get them all the way there. There's a lot you can't do unless you receive the training that is on offer now. But as it pertains to the disposition and one's relationship to presence, you're not going to get that in medical school. And if you add that in with some of the really great stuff that you're getting in whatever medical school of your choice is, if you can add that piece of the more present you are to yourself, to your own life, to your own breath, the more present you will be to what is emerging in front of you, and therefore the more skilled you'll be at this, the greater advantage you will have in being able to help people find the true, legitimate root cause of what is being expressed in the body, the language that symptoms are speaking. And I got to reflect to Roxanne today, that it really feels like she is, fascinatingly enough, she shifted out of family medicine and is focusing on this more specialized practice. And she's doing better family medicine, treating the whole person medicine, than she was ever able to do in the previous iteration of her practice. And I'm just so astounded every time I get to bear witness to these stories of transformation. So yeah, I feel great about that in the midst of so much going on that I also feel great about. But I feel really, my somatic experience as of late has been similar to what you were describing, though it had nothing to do with Taylor Swift. But I had just felt a little bit of that seeking, looking energy. I've been really working with my body to kind of make some very intentional choices to set things down, shut things off, walk away, to facilitate that state change. And I fly to Nashville tomorrow, and so I'm going to have a lot more. I've got I have 17 sessions in 7 days or something like that. But I will have greater spaciousness as it pertains to not parenting for a little while, and just, my life is very simple when I'm in Nashville, and I'm really looking forward to that. And my body is really looking forward to the sauna. So we will miss you. My body and I will miss you in the sauna. But yeah, there's tons more I could share and say, but I think that's enough for now. I got to water these beautiful plants in my office, and then I got to go move my body a little, then pick up some kids and drop off for soccer practice and make dinner and pack, and it's a lot. So I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Hey, Jamie. Oh, that was so good. I loved everything you just shared. And isn't it funny how we're kind of in these parallel states of being with one another, both in terms of everything you said. I want to respond both to the Taylor talk, as well as to what you said about having things be feeling more full. I think those are my two pieces I want to respond to. So the Taylor talk of it all, I think I love that Caroline said that, because Taylor herself says, she actually reiterated recently, I think of my work as a mirror. And so you're going to get back what you're going to see things in my music that tell you things about yourself. She said something essential to that. And she also had a whole song about that. I'm a mirror ball. I'll show you every version of yourself tonight. And that's in some ways how she views her work. It's her cathartic expression of how she's feeling. But then when it goes out into the world, it's a little bit about us and not about her. And yeah, I don't know about I think I would be surprised if she was intentionally I'm making this bad to slough off my fan base, but I could see her saying, I'm going to make this what I want it to be, even if it is off-putting to people, because I just want it to be that way. And frankly, if that means that less people are obsessed with me, I think I wouldn't mind that. In one of the songs, she's her dream is for everyone to just leave her the fuck alone. Her and Travis in the case of the song. So there you go. It's a blend, I imagine. Yeah, she's so interesting. And it is interesting, this particular album and the music, it's just so catchy. It's actually kind of too catchy. I haven't even been playing it that much, and I have all of the melodies sort of stuck in my head. And there's something quite incredible about that, but also unnerving, frankly. And so I've actually found myself like listening to other things. I'm not streaming as much because I'm like, oh, they're already in there, So that's interesting. And that's what my body needs right now. And that's great. So that's, I think, the main things to say about the tailor of it all at the moment. And then like the fullness of life thing, something really interesting happened recently where I think I've already said to you, but like especially the last month was honestly looking back too full. Like it wasn't too full in a way where I had a mental breakdown and immediately burned out. If I'd kept it that full, for sure burnout would be in the future, just because that's how it goes. And it was unpleasantly full. There wasn't the space I would have desired. And I think in some ways that probably played into then me getting kind of hyperfixated on the escape of Taylor, because it's like, well, this is able to hold my attention in a very specific way that I can like kind of hide away from how much else I have put on my plate. And so love me for working through that solution, if you will, in response, and also love me for recognizing how that isn't ultimately what I need for long term, but help me in the short term. And so now we are putting down the tailor of it all and also putting down things like, thankfully, a number of the commitments that made last month too full are done. They were temporary, thank goodness. And something I'm going to be super mindful for September is that September is a full month and certain pieces of my work have a higher volume in September. And so it's like, Joan, don't say yes to things in September. Don't say yes to most things most of the time. And so, yeah, an interesting thing about that though, is a friend of mine like said, and I think it's sort of like a loving, maybe slightly teasing, offhanded comment, like, how are you? I've actually heard from a few people, like, you do seem to have a lot going on. And I know from a few different people, one of them was like, and I know you're like the face of wellness, but like, how are you doing? And both of these cases, I noticed myself getting like so defensive. And I have to then examine that, right? Like, part of it is feeling like a bit misunderstood because I don't think that the main thing I'm trying to do is become the face of wellness. Even just the face of anything. I don't want to be a face. I want to be a whole person. And I'm then happy to share pieces of my personhood in ways that are of service to others. But like, that made me go, ugh, is that how I come across? But more than that, underneath also the defensiveness was like that there's a part of me that believes I have to pretend to be the face of wellness, even though that's not even what I'm going for. And I noticed, like relating to last month getting too full, I noticed the sort of shame story of, oh, you're an imposter, you're a hypocrite, or you're fake. You're saying leave space in your life, and yet you totally overstuffed your month. And so you're not practicing what you preach. You're like a hypocrite, And that doesn't really help you. That takes up even more space when you're now in a shame story about it. So for me, at least. So noticing that and saying like, okay, yeah. So like, first of all, the fact that a couple people are like, you do seem to have a lot going on, like checking in with that. Like, does it feel like a lot to you? And like last month, the honest answer is like, yeah, it is a lot. It's actually a little too much. And of course that can happen, even if I am in the deep practice of working less, doing less. That will include ebbs and flows, including times where I need to, like you always say, like life is like forgetting and remembering, forgetting and remembering. In some ways, I don't think it was a fully forgetting last month. It was a bit of a trial, some of it intentional and some of it accidental, where like I signed up for a thing a long time ago and then realized, whoops, it's the same month as this other thing I signed up for, So it became an experiment of like, okay, so checking in on my capacity. When I have this amount on my plate, how does it feel? And the answer is not that good. Good to know. Adrienne May Brown, never a failure, always a lesson. Like that's the place I want to land. but I do need to move through and acknowledge and tend to the part of myself that feels like I am a failure and and I'm a fraud because I overbooked myself and I did it again. And I got caught up in the being the most helpful helper of all helping. And I'll pitch in here. Of course I'll take this other person, And so by speaking to you, inviting myself to offer deep compassion to the part of myself that said yes to too many things, and that being something I am sure I will have many iterations of lessons throughout my life, and it is, when I'm not having a shame story about it, fun to play with. Like, how much is too much? Let's find out, and like, especially I'm so grateful that the things that were the yeses, the ones especially I said yes to intentionally for the same month, I was like, I'm doing this for a month. I'm doing this for this 2 weeks, right? Like I said yes, and it had a boundary around it. And that it was like the greatest blessing and gift. And I could see a piece of my mind being like, oh, I could offer to keep going. And then that's where, my body and my wisest self within my body say, girl, no. Look around. Like when I start being like, it's fine, it's manageable, I can do it. Those are the yellow flags, if not red flags. Like if that's the way I'm describing my life, yeah, everything, I'm doing pretty good, everything's manageable. I don't want my life to be manageable. I want my life to be rich and varied and just have room and space for surprise. I don't want to feel like I have to be on top of things all the time. Ugh. Like my shoulders just like released when I considered having the kind of life where I don't have to be on top of things all the time. God, that feels so much better. Which doesn't mean I don't do anything, obviously. I'm doing things. I'm out here doing things. And a little bit it's like the approach to the things, but also it's the number of the things. And how much better it feels to more deeply commit within certain boundaries to a smaller number of things. Oh, it just feels so much better, And, one of the role models for this, Taylor Swift, I know she seems to be doing a lot all the time, but first of all, as she said, your energy is expensive. Absolutely. And also, I've been watching some interviews of her and people keep bringing up her wedding and they're like, oh, you're starting to plan it? And she's like, I'm just focusing on this album release now. This is the thing I'm doing. And then after this thing, I think I will pick up the wedding thing. And like, honestly, that's she has one project she's focusing on at a time. Respect that. Goals. The rest of her life, not goals, but like that kind of pacing. Yes. So there you go. That's where I'm at. Now I'm down by the river and there's a heron and seagulls and ducks. Life is beautiful. My toes are slowly getting damp with the dew of the grass. The sun is rising. The air is crisp and cool. My fingers are getting slightly numb holding this phone. And the moon is still up. It's a full moon, even though the sun is rising. Love that. Just dropped off the kids who were so funny and giggly this morning. Felix is starting to question the existence of the tooth fairy, and I'm feeling conflicted about how to not lie to him, but still give him the opportunity to participate in childlike wonder. And I don't know the answer. I just told him, I'm not supposed to tell you either way. The rule is that grown-ups aren't supposed to tell you, which is just my rule. I don't know. We're all just making it up, Jamie. Help. Anyway, but so he now has his his canines missing. So he has his 2 front teeth in, and then the teeth on either side are missing. And he just looks so cute. Anyway, love you. Thank you for being thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing your grounding presence. It is such a meaningful part of my life and allows me to, your presence is a source of nourishment and a deep reminder for me to find pacing, go slow. Yeah. And become the human, including the doctor that I really want to be, like you said in yours. And that's a really beautiful thing. So I hope your last moments of more chaos with packing, etc., went well, and your trip to Nashville goes well. And I love you so much. Goodbye.
All right, Joan, let's do this. It has been almost 2 full weeks since you sent and I received your most recent voice memo, where you said many brilliant things and also wished me the best in my finishing packing and traveling to Nashville. I'm back now. I have actually been back for 2.5 days, functionally 3 days. And it has felt so good. It is actually fall up here, which is not the case in Nashville, which is like the thing that used to just drive me bonkers about Nashville when I lived there. And I'm feeling extraordinarily grateful for many reasons to be back up in the Pacific Northwest, to be back in Bellingham, to be back home with my family. I'm going to keep this somewhat brief because I think we're mostly at our time limit for these. And because, speaking of my family, we are carving pumpkins tonight. So I'm really excited. What I want to say, as briefly as I can, is since we are enacting an integrity process here of looking really honestly at the results we were getting from choices we were making in our own lives. And we didn't really even realize that we were getting like results of our choices until we'd hit certain walls and felt certain ways and had to look really honestly at ourselves. Like, I love what you said about like, I got defensive. And so that means I got to look at it. Like, yes, using the emotional guidance system to allow ourselves to understand ourselves better by recognizing when we're feeling things like defensive, angry, overwhelmed, frustrated, like something is going on that I would probably benefit from understanding more deeply. And the person that I always have the ability to positively affect with what I see in my inquiry there is me. And so what am I doing? What results am I getting? And do I like those results? So since we're doing that, I will just say, this Nashville trip was aligning and illuminating in a way that felt really stark and quite surprising and even a little destabilizing in the way that it revealed to me just how deeply I have been still like unknowingly participating in these patterns of relationship where I am just like 1000% sending signals that I am 1000% cool with receiving no reciprocity in my direction. And it feels really, I don't know, it feels really similar to what I was just re-listening to again right before recording this, like hearing you describe about, what Adrienne Marie Brown says of like never a failure, always a lesson. Like that's the energy I'm really working with right now. I've definitely got some grief in the soup. I have some regret in the soup. I've got some tending to my relationship with my past self to do about just like when I woke up to where and how I was doing this and then how that spoke to where and how I was doing this elsewhere. It felt kind of embarrassing, to be honest. In the same way that you were like, I'm the wellness lady, but I'm like, that's, the defense story is like, as if, like, that's the embarrassment defense story is like, I have this fear that people will oh no, see me being a human, like in the midst of the thing I'm teaching. I'm like, I'm the self-responsibility lady. And I was just not taking any in the context of, a particular relationship in my life that was playing out certain patterns that have to do with some of my deepest wounds, blah, 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 all of that. And when I saw it, it was like, oh, it was so uncomfortable in my body when I saw that I was doing that, because I thought back on the last 2 years and I was like, oh God, I have been doing that for quite some time. And I've worked through some of that of like, some of those emotions that are in the soup, regret, etc. Shame even has been there a little bit, but I definitely feel like I'm now in this place with my body where, I'm feeling really grateful for the lessons and really, really grateful for the things that I get to keep, that I learned in the context of that relationship, and most especially the way that one singular relationship that, it has now rearranged itself was and remains a kind of a looking glass for me to see myself more clearly, and also to like, I don't know, it's a lens through which I can look at so many other aspects of relationship in my life, including my relationship to my work. Like, this has really helped me understand a lot about like how the energy around my work in some sense has felt kind of porous lately. And I'm like, right, of course, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And this was just like lurking over there in the corner the whole time. And I'm working through a lot still with my body, but I felt a lot of resonance with what you're describing about your kind of like September self, and the choices she was making and the ways that you understand why she was making those choices, and the compassion you have. And then also, the, hey, let's do something different both now and next time we have that opportunity. Because I loved what you said about like shame just kind of elongates the process of like integration. And I'm just like, I'm not interested in that unnecessary drama anymore. I'm just like ready to say thank you to all of my teachers throughout the entirety of my life, and continue on to the next level of learning, because that is what feels the most good. That is what I believe makes me the most impactful and effective in the world. And that also feels the most good when I am the most impactful and effective in the world. So I'll end it here. I said I was going to keep it brief. I hope this was brief. I love you. I'm really looking forward to our next episode with one another. I will admit, I got a little scared earlier because I was like, shit, we're recording in a week, and I really need to study up on German New Medicine itself. I have a whole notes document of like all this like paradigm stuff I'm going to say, but I do want to make sure I'm actually like explaining German New Medicine itself and doing it justice by explaining it accurately, and it's dense, so I got to study. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Okay, bye. Love you.
This is Experiential Anatomy. Thanks for listening. I'm Joan Chan.
And I'm Jamie Lee Finch. Experiential Anatomy is co-hosted and created by us.
Amber Wyndham is the editor. Julia Wyndham is the supervising producer.
Senior producer is Elizabeth Wyndham. Aaron Beatty leads our community management.
Our theme music is Park Pier 3 by G's Guy.
If you have any thoughts, questions, or stories to share about this week's episode, email us at exanatomy@gmail.com.
Please follow, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. And remember to join us over at exanatomy.substack.com.
Experiential Anatomy is produced by Windhaven Productions.